Hello, race fans. You're listening to the NASCAR Show here on the Grueling Truth, where legends speak. I'm your host, Alex Gray, along here with Steve Risley and Bobby Sheridan of the Sheridan Report. We're going to talk about the Pennzoil 400 yesterday that took place at Las Vegas Motor Speedway with Joey Logano getting his first win of the season, defending his championship, and second straight win for Mr. Roger Penske with Brad Keselowski's win last week. All right, guys. So what do we think of the race?
The venue was pretty. The seats looked full.
Yeah.
Vegas is always a fun place. Bobby, spends half his life in Vegas, or a good part of it. I know he's going to see Celine Dion this weekend or tonight. You seen him tonight? Her tonight?
Tomorrow night, actually. Tomorrow
night,
actually.
yeah. And that's a great concert. I've seen Celine Dion. Great concert. But, Alex, to me, the race was boring.
Well, I mean, a lot of people can argue that about the mile and a half for several years, really. The interesting thing is this race had no incidents. This was an incident-free race. The first race without an on-track incident since October 6, 2002, which is incredible. It was really a quiet race. Last week was kind of a quiet race, too, in terms of wrecks. I saw somebody, a friend of mine, post do wrecks make a good race? I mean, all I want to see is just, close racing, beating and banging, rubbing racing. I'm sure everybody wants that. I think with the package, we do see, I saw a comparison video on the restart on stage 3 compared to last year's race and this year's race. Definitely the restarts are closer. Steve O'Donnell assessed the race yesterday. He said he felt a step was in the right direction, but he's not satisfied. So I think they're going to continue to work with this Aero package over time. I don't want to say it was overhyped, or matter of fact, I hate to say that a race is boring. Actually, I hate saying that, honestly. So. I just do because of my support for NASCAR, and I'll support whatever they do and whatnot.
And I won't. I will not do that. And I got into a pissing match with Dave Moody from Sirius NASCAR Radio on Twitter last night, and he and about 4 or 5 of us were pissing on each other about it. And he said you got to give it time. And we'll have that discussion maybe on Wednesday when we get into more of a general topic. But Bobby, these predictable races like this, I mean, was this an easy call? I mean, none of us got Logano, so we didn't win. We're 2 for 3 now. But is this make it too predictable for gambling?
Yeah. Okay. We knew going in that this was the chances of this being a long shot were going to be slim. And so we did talk about, if you remember on the race, we talked about the top 6 or 8 guys that the winner was going to come from there. We did say that. Our panel got a little bit unlucky in that none of us chose Logano, and he's one of the top 6 or 8. We know that he's the defending champion and Penske and everything else. So I went Larson and you went Harvick and Alex went Truex, and that's 3 of the top 6, 8 guys, and we just didn't have Logano. But yeah, it was predictable. And
from your perspective, when you're picking odds, how much do you play into predictability and into volatility? What comes in more in play? Because my love of NASCAR, and it kind of goes back to what Alex said. My love of NASCAR is volatility, and I'm a 9-car fan. I love Chase Elliott. I want that car to win every race, but it frustrates the heck out of me when he gets caught up in some crap. But that's the volatility of what makes you want to watch the sport.
Yeah. Well, Chase had a top 10 car again. He just hasn't had a top 3 car. He can't. There was only a couple of guys that could, that were going to win that yesterday, as it turns out. And I think the volatility is funner for the fans, and the anything can happen at any moment is fun for the fans. And I think true race guys though that are like you and like Alex, can appreciate all aspects of racing, even if it's quote boring. And I'll tell you, last night it might have been boring, but I got in here and the place was packed with NASCAR people that stayed the night and are going home today. So I mean, you know, they sure filled it, and all the haulers and everything will be getting out of here today, and you don't want to even be even anywhere around the strip today. You know, getting out of here and going to Phoenix. But you know, I from a betting standpoint, you know, you just had to be on the right side and pick Logano as one of the top 6 or 8. It was fairly easy for the right guy who was on that, and we just didn't happen to be. So we're 2-1.
What were the odds on Logano?
He was the 6th choice, and he was about anywhere from 8 to 10 to 1. You know, when I say
money
6th
off of
choice, you know, you had Brad Kay, you had Harvick, you had Larson, you had Kyle. You know, those were 4 for sure. And then I think there was another guy ahead of him too. He might have been the 6th choice for the race. So
okay, so Alex,
a
bunch of questions for you. TV ratings. How were the TV ratings? I mean, is NASCAR resurging, or is this still tanking?
Well, Fox TV earned Adam Stern posted this on Twitter, by the way. Generally posts this kind of news I love to follow and definitely discuss about. Fox TV earned a 2.9 overnight rating. That is up 4% from last year's race. That would make the race the highest-rated U.S. sports event of the weekend for the 3rd straight week to start the 2019 season. I think I've said before, I think NASCAR, you know, I don't think NASCAR is ever going to, you know, go back to the glory days of the 80s and 90s, but I think NASCAR is definitely going towards the right direction. I think personally, and you look at it now, not as many people, and there's still a lot of people that use cable television, but you also need to look at streaming, you know, like Fox Sports Go, for instance. And there's actually an article that Bob Pockrass retweeted from Forbes that I want to cover Wednesday that talks about that. It's titled "NASCAR has a positive statistic to hang a hat and coveralls on." So I'll discuss that Wednesday. But, yeah, I mean, you know, people don't watch TV like they used to, but still, you know, the Rockets and the Celtics, I believe, were playing the same time as this race, and this race earned a higher rating. You know, and I know I saw a couple people comment like, they're not competing with anyone. There's the NBA, there's the NHL, MLB's going to start up soon. The AAF, obviously.
Wait, you say they're not competing. Those are the 3 of the 4 biggest major sports in the world.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, and the NFL are the big dogs.
Yeah.
And then here's NASCAR. Bobby, is NASCAR where you want to go? Is it what you want to get involved in? I mean, and talk about from a perspective of pari-mutuel betting, because I see this as target-rich environment to get into the gaming situation that's going to come up in every state now. Is that true or not?
Well, I think it is, and I think they're banking on it. You know, I think not only the fact that you can wager on the races, but you can wager on other things as well, you know, and just reaching more people and putting it in front of the people. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people here yesterday watching this race, and as Alex just said, there's a lot of people watching it on TV. NASCAR is enjoying a nice resurgence. They needed it, and they're getting it. Now that racing just has to fit the resurgence. And I think they're, like he said, they're trying to get there. Don't judge us yet. We're trying to get there. And you know, it's going to take some time. But, yeah, I think from a sports betting perspective, they're going to become a player. I think they've been on the outside looking in terms of sports betting with their product. And I think now they're trying to tap into that. And
so, Bobby, is this one of the most adoptable or adaptable sports wagering, you know, bets, sports wagering bets locally that you can get involved in is auto racing, or is it just kind of just floating there with everybody else?
No, I think it's good because it's got odds to win the race, which you can get rich quick type bet. You know, $100 at a 10 to 1. There's 1,000. You know, or you got your matchups, your driver versus drivers. I think there's opportunities here that, you know, for that bettors are going to like, and you know, I think it's in a good position to jump into that market even stronger. I mean, it's been around, but it's now going to be more accessible and legal. And hey, look, my dad is 78 years old and he's fine money wise, but he put two $10 bets for me yesterday that I could put in through the account because he just wanted to have a little action on the race, you know. And
right.
The guy's 78 and he's been watching races his whole life. It's fun to bet a couple drivers.
All right. So, Bobby, are we going to see, like at Churchill Downs, are we going to see pari-mutuel windows at NASCAR races?
Well, I think it may, yes. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to have the whole betting board, not just the race on. You can bet on that Rockets game that Alex was talking about while you're sitting there waiting for the race to start. And I think you're going to have a full-on sports book inside some of these racetracks. I think that's where we're heading. And then remember what we talked about way early on, maybe the first show when you asked me about sports betting, the live betting. Maybe after the second stage, reset the odds. There's always 5 minutes or so in between. Reset the odds, and now who's favored to win? So it's not just before the race, it's during the race, certain bets. Will there be a win?
I think you call them props, right? You call them props. I'm not a big gambler, so
props
or what
props.
So like we talk about, like we heard, I remember, and again, I follow the 9 car. They came out and said Chase Elliott had the fastest pit stop of anybody. Do you bet on things like that? Who's got the fastest pit stop in and out?
I think they're going to put bets up like that just for interest, just like they do for NFL and everything else. There'll be bets like that for interest, where they'll put small limits, maybe a couple $100, the most you can do on that. But it's neat, and that's going to keep the viewers engaged, Steve. It's going to keep the viewers those numbers up and sustained throughout the whole broadcast, and it's going to keep those fannies in the seats longer. And, of course, NASCAR fans are pretty dedicated, the ones that show up. But you know what I'm saying. I think it's the sports betting is, the AAF guy that he came in, that was what intrigued him. This Tom Dundon was the sports betting part of it for the league.
Right. And Alex, I got a ton of questions for you, but I want to ask one more. Do we get to a point, Bobby, where you can do this on the television is there a point in time where with smart television, smart TV, you can just bet right there on the spot as the race is going on? Does that happen?
Yes, that's the live betting I'm talking about. That's the area we're going into, whether it's your computer, your laptop in your lap, or on your smart TV. It's the same thing. Yeah, live. The AAF is exploring that right now, live, instantaneously. The next play.
You give your credit card, you bet. It's like, I'm betting that Chase Elliott's going to be first in, come out in 5th place, or he's going to be first in, first out, or whatever.
Well, I think it's going to evolve to something along those lines. I mean, you're going to need to have good odds makers that are on top of all this, and it all happens instantaneously. But that's somewhere along these lines. I think we're going to be jumping into the next phase of sports betting. That is.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was watching the Today Show this morning, and they were talking about Steven Spielberg getting pissy about Netflix all of a sudden now being involved in Oscar nominations, and they said that's television, but the whole point there is the medium is changing big time.
Yeah.
It's changing dramatically, and so for Spielberg to say you have to have a cinematic presence is no longer valuable, and the betting now, Bobby, is just going to go right to your television, isn't it? You're just going to say, dude, I'm going to click my button, and I'm going to bet. I got my credit card down there, and I've got a button here that says bet. Bet, how much you want to bet? $50? I bet. That's true?
Well, yeah. I mean, your credit card will have already probably funded your account.
Right, but yeah.
So
mine will be declined. Mine will be declined, but that's okay. We'll move on from that.
That's out of the picture, but you got money in your account. You can open up to the different props, and you can refresh the page. It's got a new prop there for you, and boom, $20. Elliott will have the best pit stop and get 41 odds. Something like that.
Alex, the mile and a half tracks. What the hell? I mean, we have 4 cautions. All of them are from the stages. They run 4 cautions on the stages. And is this good for NASCAR? I mean, do people want to see banging and rubbing and racing and fender banging and wrecking, or is this good racing for NASCAR?
Well, I mean, for me, I just want to see the close racing, not somebody taking off and having a 13-second lead. I'm just like close racing, lots of passing, occasionally some beating and banging, and I'm cool with that. because everyone in the race wants to win the race, obviously. It was a video I think I saw from Jeff Burton. I think he was being interviewed. It was like 2001. I want to say it was Kansas or it was Chicagoland, one of those two races. And he actually talked about his displeasure about the mile-and-a-half tracks, talking about how, we're just, following the leader. And even Benny Parsons pointed that out. I was like, yeah, it's just follow the leader. And I think that's why NASCAR wanted to try this hand at this Aero package, is so that the mile-and-a-half tracks aren't as much follow the leader. As for somebody who's grown up close to Kentucky Speedway and has been to all the Cup races there, obviously with the lower banking, and then, of course, then it got repaved, and the last couple of races have just been kind of because of, Martin Truex Jr., he has that track down, obviously, so he'll probably be a favorite to win come this summer. But anyway, yeah, I think the mile-and-a-half tracks have always been an issue because I know NASCAR has pushed for going to bigger markets like Texas, California, Las Vegas, Kansas City, Chicagoland, Cincinnati, Louisville, give or take, with Kentucky. So I don't know. I personally believe if you want to have these mile-and-a-half tracks, they should all only have one race. Because I think a lot more fans want short tracks, and I think NASCAR's listening. So they're giving his hand at this Aero package, which the Aero package will be a little different next week for Phoenix, by the way. We'll get into that Wednesday as well.
Yeah, and Wednesday we'll talk about splitters, and I don't want to do it tonight because we still talk about the race. But
hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve. Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to let you know I got to sign off real quick. I got to handle something. I apologize. You guys carry it home, and I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday night when we're previewing Phoenix.
All righty,
Bobby.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
buddy. Okay, so where do I go from here? Because so let's go back to this race. Fords continue to dominate.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 7 positions are Fords.
Yeah.
Busch has the top Chevy at 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting an unfair advantage here, or is it is the Aero package kind of wavering on these mile-and-a-halfs for these guys, or what's going on here?
I think it can go back.
Go ahead.
I think it can go back.
Yeah, I asked my question.
Okay, I felt this way with team dominance, and I feel this way now with manufacturer dominance. I gave this some thought. It could be a thing where, for many years, Chevrolet was top dog with, go back, you had the likes of Gibbs and Hendrick and Childress with, Dale, Gordon, Stewart, all those guys. But now I start to wonder if now that wave of dominance is starting to change over to Ford, in which, obviously I could say that with Toyota, but you got LFR, you got JGR. There aren't as many Toyotas in the field. You had first row last year. But, yeah, I think Ford is starting to become, the top manufacturer in NASCAR. They've been pretty dominant. Obviously, SHR, Stewart-Haas Racing's been strong last year, and I think they'll continue that this year. Penske, obviously, is off to an amazing start with Logano and Keselowski. Keselowski winning last week. Keselowski nearly winning again this week, trying to make a last-lap move on Logano, which made the finish kind of fun. And Logano ended up getting the win there. I think Harvick's going to get a win here pretty soon. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 6th. And I also start to wonder if this Aero package is benefiting Roush Fenway Racing because they've been struggling the last few years. So it's kind of nice to see Stenhouse hop up in there. And then, of course, you got Amarola and all those guys.
That's my question. Is there favoritism going on here in what we're doing?
It just could be Aero. It could be the way these cars are designed, from the Camaro and the Mustang, the way they're designed. Perhaps Ford might have figured something out after what Chevrolet did last year. They're like, okay, let's not do this. Let's try this. If you're asking in terms of your question, I think it's more Aero.
Okay, because does most of the Chevrolet stuff come from Hendrick? Is that fairly true?
There's Hendrick.
I think that Ganassi gets their engines and chassis from Hendrick, right?
Yeah, there's Hendrick and there's Earnhardt Childress as well.
Earnhardt Childress, right. And so, I'm looking here and I'm seeing nothing spectacular out of Chevrolet. So are these guys just being handcuffed, or are they just behind the curve on these mile-and-a-half tracks?
It seems to me
they win the pole on Daytona. They can fly, but
yeah, the circuit plate tracks are never a concern. It's just about making sure you don't get caught up in the wrecks and you're there at the end.
Yeah,
I think Chevrolet just might be a little bit behind a Ford here. It feels like, especially same with Toyota. Kurt Busch was 5th, Chase Elliott 9th, Bowman was 11th, Larson was 12th, and Biden 16th, Buescher 18th, and Jimmy Johnson 19th. Just to some notable Chevrolet finishes in the race.
Okay, I'm watching this race, and I'm saying this Aero package is supposed to balance things out. Is what NASCAR wants to claim. But I'm still seeing the big teams up front. I'm not seeing, Hendrick is back there in 23rd, the DiBenedetto's in 21st. Other than that, you're looking at everybody else up there is tied to one of these huge teams. Are they failing in that aspect of, we're not balancing it out? We're just kind of favoring a manufacturer? Because I don't see this. I mean, I know that some of the guys, the 96 car, who is the 96 car? I'm trying to think who it was.
The 96 Toyota, that's the Parker Kligerman.
Parker Kligerman. He was running up front for a while. And where did he end up finishing?
He finished in 31st.
31st. Okay, so is it just really not a case? Yeah, Parker Kligerman, there he is. It really doesn't balance out. Because I thought the Aero package was supposed to make the cars more equal. And what I don't like about the whole process, Alex, is I think they're taking the talent away from the drivers and putting it into the engineers. Is that a fair question?
Yeah, I think that's always been an issue, because I fear that, the cars are built the same. That was the issue I had with the car tomorrow back in 2008, 2009, 2010. The cars were just the same. And safety-wise,
that car was built for safety, correct? I mean,
it was.
The car tomorrow was built for totally safety. It was a concrete block. You couldn't hurt that car.
Yeah,
they put the wing on the back. They wanted the downforce on the car. They wanted it just to stay on the track and not flip, not roll over. And they wanted to protect drivers. That's the Dale Earnhardt effect of what happened to Earnhardt.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Kyle Busch, who badmouthed the car tomorrow more than anybody, wins the first car tomorrow race.
Yeah.
Figure.
And you talk about not flipping over and everything. I believe that wing was the reason why Carl Edwards had that scary incident at Talladega when he and Keselowski, and then even that fall race, and then when Keselowski got flipped in Atlanta. Your car shouldn't take off like that in Atlanta. But that was after they announced they were changing back to the spoiler. So I was like, oh, good.
Yeah.
But that was I was talking about the car tomorrow. Yeah, that was basically built off of safety, and I'm kind of hoping the cars have some sort of their own identity. What makes them different. And plus, with this Aero package, with the horsepower going down to 550. A lot of it's also, you're slamming down on the gas pedal and just going for it, So, I don't know. We'll see how this package does at, Phoenix and these other places.
But the restarts yesterday were phenomenal. You had full wide. But then immediately within 2 laps, and again, I got to go back to the same old, I follow Elliott, so I'm liking, he's 0.8 seconds away in 6th place, and then 2 laps later, he's 12.4 seconds away, off the lead. And it's like the restarts are great. So the side-by-side racing, but, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. And, again, I defer back to you. It's just a 1.5-mile track, just a bad track for NASCAR, really.
Well, they how do I put this?
I know. How do you put it? Exactly.
A lot of it's follow the leader. It has been for a long time. and I've been to
on this track.
I've been
on the mile-and-a-half track. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to races at Atlanta, not Texas, Charlotte, Kentucky. Well, with Charlotte and Atlanta, that was like 2006 compared to now with, mainly Kentucky that I go to. The mile and a half, I think the biggest problem with them really since they began pop up in the 90s and into the 2000s was, it was follow the leader. So as I said earlier in the show, this is NASCAR trying to make them more entertaining. So, especially I want to see how they react on tracks like Texas and especially Kentucky. So we'll see. Because, like, the first 7-8 laps, they seem to be I was hoping more like first 10 or 15 laps they'd be kind of dueling, but then they kind of split away. So, well, we're on the Phoenix.
Yeah, is that where they go next? Phoenix? They're on the Phoenix now?
Yeah. So, Bob Hawker's.
Which is what? Is that a mile track? Is Phoenix a mile track?
Little under a mile and a half.
A little under a mile. So it's a short track, basically.
Yeah, ISM Raceway.
Which you're going to get a lot more rubbing and racing there. So, and we'll talk more about the, all the splitters and things. I know we got some comments on that, but let's save that for Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who are the favorites right now? After looking at Vegas, you're 3 races into it right now. Who are the teams? Who are the drivers? Let's not even go to teams because I think the teams with the most money are the teams to beat, except for Hendrick, which seems to be pissing on themselves. Who are the drivers to beat right now?
Well, last year's winners were Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch, so I think you start there. I think Harvick and Kyle Busch, who obviously they're going to be up in the front, they're going to be competitors to win this race. So they're definitely some drivers to look at, especially that Kevin Harvick has a really, really good track record here. He won here in 2012, 2013, both 2014 races, and then the spring of 15, spring of 16, and then spring of 18. So Harvick has won here multiple occasions. I think he's definitely a big favorite. Kyle Busch, mainly because he's the previous winner at Phoenix. So I think you start there. You could probably – Ryan Newman did win this race in the spring of 17 off of pit strategy. And then Joey Logano won here at the fall of 16. Fall of 17 was won by Matt Kenseth, but obviously he's not in the race. And then the fall 15 was won by Dale Jr. He's not in the race either. And, of course, that was under rain. Oops. So, yeah, I'm going to say Harvick, Kyle Busch. I'm going to throw in Logano in there again. And I think on the Toyota side of things, if I were to pick a Chevy, I'd say Chase Elliott. Mainly because, he nearly won the fall 2017 race when he got into that scuffle with Denny Hamlin. But, I don't know about the Chevys yet. It looks like the start of 2018 again. But, yeah, I'd say Harvick and Busch for sure.
Logano, is he a good driver or good equipment?
Well, I know in Logano.
He wins again. I mean, he's defending champion in the Cup. So
I think he's a good driver. I think the problem with him when he first came into the spotlight, I thought he was thrown into a Cup car a little too soon.
All right, let me ask you a question. Let me change it up. A good driver, is he an opportunistic driver?
Opportunistic?
Yeah, because he came out of nowhere and won this race. I mean, he was in the hunt, but
he's
opportunistic. I kind of feel that's how he won the championship last year. He was opportunistic.
Yeah, he snuck in there and he was able to be there at the end. He beat the big three, in which we all believed it was going to be one of those 3 drivers that won. I knew that looking after like race 6 last year. I was like, one of these 3 drivers is going to win the championship. And it was just like, well, hello, Logano. So, I think from where he started to now, he's really improved. Obviously, Penske gave him another chance, and he really took advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be a great driver to do that. I get that. I understand that. But it just seems to me I've never seen a driver more opportunistic that just kind of gets in the right place at the right time. And maybe that's his talent. And he just gets in the right place at the right time. That's his talent. He sits there and watches crap happen and keeps his car clean, stays out of trouble, rubs and races enough, and then all of a sudden he pounces when it's time to pounce. And he seems to do that well, as much as anybody. So, all right, overall thoughts of Vegas. I thought it was boring. I don't think it did NASCAR any good.
I can see why. I can understand why you said that.
You're smarter than I am. What do you think?
Keselowski and Logano put on a good show at the end there. Obviously, maybe some people would think different if there were some cautions in between. There are some pros and cons to the Aero package, for sure. I don't think it's perfect, but it does create a little bit more of bunched-up racing. I don't expect a pack like Daytona, but just, closer racing. Vegas was all right. It was okay. So that's all I have to really say about Vegas. It was okay. It was just a quiet race.
Yeah, but Vegas is a track that you kind of almost think it's almost like restrictor plate because it's high banked, it's mile and a half, it's fast track. And I thought you'd see more side by side racing for a longer duration of period. So that brings me to another question to you, and we'll wrap it up with this one, and then come back Wednesday. Team orders, do they exist in NASCAR?
Team orders.
You got Keselowski and Logano dueling it out. All right, and that's Penske cars. Do team orders exist in NASCAR?
I don't know because
is that when we stay for Wednesday?
Yeah, let me one word. Spingate, 2013. I don't know if you remember it. It was at Richmond. Basically, it was Michael Waltrip Racing. Yeah, and basically it was like, I want Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer basically was told to purposely spin out to help Truex get into the chase, and NASCAR caught on to it. Mm-hmm. So,
I
don't know
that vividly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it exists in Formula One, and we all know team orders exist in Formula One, and I believe team orders exist in IndyCar too.
They probably exist in some way in NASCAR, but not like what happened with Spingate.
Yeah, Spingate was bad. Yeah, that's no doubt. So, I think that caused. Was that the year that cost Jeff Gordon, and they actually put Jeff Gordon in? Was that year?
Yeah, they put Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, they actually gave Jeff Gordon the 13th or 6th, 17th spot or whatever they did. They put him in the playoffs because of Spingate. They just said, we're just going to put you in because Gordon got screwed out of that, did he not, out of Spingate?
Yeah, he did. They threw Truex out, and that's why then Napa left, and then he left MWR to go to Furniture Row.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah. So, all right. Anything else about Vegas? So-so, good for Logano. He's in the chase now, or the whatever they call it now. They don't call it the chase anymore. Playoffs, yeah. He's in. So we got 3 drivers in. Are we going to see 16 winners this year?
I'm going to say, I think we're going to see 12 or 13, maybe 14 winners.
So we got a couple guys still going to earn their way in on points.
Jeff Gluck put on his tweet, he makes a poll for every race saying, was this race a good race? Was Las Vegas a good race? 55% say yes, 45% say no. And there's 20 hours left on that poll.
Okay, well, it defines what a good race is. I mean, to me, when somebody do you know how many lead changes there were in this race off the top of your head? I mean, I don't want to question you on it, but how many lead changes did we actually have in this race?
I saw a post from yesterday, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Let me see here. What did Todd Gordon put here? We had 19 lead changes among 9 drivers, and the top 4 cars finished within 2 seconds on a 100-lap green flag run. I think the racing was really good. We battled 4, 18, 1, and 2, swapping lead all day. There were a lot more lead changes in this race compared to last year. I remember that.
And that's fair. That's very fair. I mean, there are those of us who like to see the rubbing and racing, and there are those who just want to see the good, racing. And I think yesterday you got good racing. But I'm just don't like the fact that with the Aero package, we haven't brought the lower-end cars up to speed with the big teams. I would hope the Aero package would create that thing where talent plays, and maybe talent does play a role. Maybe, the guys that are hanging back are just not as talented as a Harvick or a Logano or, a Boyer or whoever else you want to name. Elliott, you can go through the whole list.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing a lot of difference in what's happening. You slow the horsepower down, no big deal. That's cool. We're not slowing the cars down any because the Aero has been upped, and we're getting better, ground effects on the cars and things like that. So I don't think they changed. How much? Last question I'll ask you, and maybe this is one you want to say for Wednesday too.
Okay.
How much has getting I don't want to use this phrase out, but I'm going to use it. Getting rid of Brian France, how much of a benefit has that done for NASCAR? And you want to touch that on Wednesday, or you want to address it right now? Whatever you want to do.
Let me leave a little sprinkle and then throw the rest of it into Wednesday.
Good. Great.
I'll do that. So, I think the change in leadership, I think it felt like it was really needed. The atmosphere that NASCAR was under Brian France wasn't the best. Brian France hardly wins any of the races. And then, Jim France takes over. He's there every week. And I think that's crucial in that sense of communication, especially going around and talking to the drivers and the teams and building good relations and just, making people happy. And I think the change in leadership was needed for sure. A lot of people didn't like what Brian France was doing leading NASCAR. So I'll leave it at that. And I'll let the people listen to what they think.
Because what I want to ask you Wednesday is who actually runs NASCAR now? Is it? I think his sister was Kennedy. She's a Kennedy now. She's not of the Kennedy family, but she is. I think it was Karen France Kennedy. Is that her name?
Let me check.
Yeah, that's not relevant. It's not important, but because you're right. Because I remember NASCAR. Because I'm 60 years old, so I remember Big Bill was at every race, talking to every team in every garage, every Sunday, telling them what my fist rules, and here we go. And it was a clean sport. It was a hard-fought sport. And it was good, but then it got kind of. And Bill France Jr. was pretty much the same way, only probably a little smarter than Big Bill France in terms of just being a little more savvy in business and working with the media and things like that. Then you got into Brian, and it all went to hell in a handbasket real quick.
Yeah, Jim France is the chairman now. So
yeah, and he's the brother of Bill Jr.
I think. Let me check here. He is. Yeah, his brother was Bill Jr.
Yeah. So yes, and Bill Jr. took over after Big Bill. It's good to see a resurgence in the sport. It was, I just think the mile and a halves are a problem for this sport, and they're just, I watched the race live because there really was nothing else going on, and I'm like thinking, God, just get me to the last 20 laps. Then the last 20 laps got exciting. And I think some way NASCAR, and they've tried it with the stage racing. I get that, but I don't know. I just think, it's the same cars out front all the time and the same spacing pretty much all the time. And I think you better get the Chevrolets back in the hunt and competing up front, because there's a lot of big-name drivers, Johnson, Elliott, Larson, Busch, that are driving Chevrolets that are really not in the picture right now. And I think you want those names in the picture. That's where I'm going to end it.
All right.
What do you got?
Excuse me.
Your overall thoughts on the race, on this race? Good? Happy?
It was all right. That's pretty much all I can say. It was all right. It was really quiet. Again, no on-track incidents for the first time in 17 years, which is crazy. So, yeah, I'll leave it as that.
Actually, I thought the Xfinity race was a better race between you and me.
The Xfinity race was, but actually, yeah, the final restart there was interesting. Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek almost took each other out as they're kind of beating and banging there. So that was interesting.
Yeah. And at some point I want to talk more about Kyle Busch and where he's going to fit in ranking as a NASCAR driver, because what he's doing is pretty impressive in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
And then also Wednesday, be prepared. Let's talk about Hailie Deegan and see what impact she's having on the sport.
Yes.
She wins the K&M race. She's, it's diversity. It's what NASCAR needs. I mean, is she a Danica Patrick 2.0? Is she a female driver who can actually go out and win races and not just drive around with a good sponsor on the back of your car? So let's talk about that on Wednesday too. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to find out if we can get Hailie on the show. She's only 17 years old. My God, is she still in high school?
Yeah, she's pretty young.
She's got to be. 17. She can't have graduated yet. But what she's doing to the sport of auto racing is really good for the sport and good for her.
A lot of people say she's the future, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can track her down, if we have any ability to get her on or not. We'll have to use your charm, Alex, because I don't have any charm.
All right.
All right, wrap it up, Alex. Close us out. We'll talk to everybody on Wednesday. Close us out.
All right. Congratulations to Joey Logano. He went to Las Vegas, the third different winner of the season. You're listening to the NASCAR Show here on The Grueling Truth, where legends speak, from Steve Risley, Bobby Sheridan, and myself, Alex Gray, signing off.